Hey guys, King of Charmanders here. Okay, so this is the video on the closer. I gave you the lead, I gave you the save switch, and now it's time to close it all out. Get it? Okay, that was a really dumb pun. Please, okay, let me fix this real quick. Please ignore that. That was really stupid. Anyways, now it's time on the video for the third part of a team. Now obviously there is much more than the lead, the save switch, and the closer. However, this is how you generally finish up a team. You pick a lead, you pick a save switch, and you pick the closer, and then you think about everything else later. At least that's what I do. So anyways, this is the video on the closer. So the closer is basically the mon you see in the back, or you'll put as your third. So generally you have, like I said, you have your lead, your save switch, and then you have your closer. Hopefully you guys enjoy the video. Let's get started. Alright, as you see, here's my graphic for pvpoke.com, and my closer in the team that you see that's featured right there is Rhyperior. Now, what is a closer? A closer can deal a heavy amount of damage in a short amount of time in a no-shield scenario. As you see on PvPoke's definition, the best Pokemon with no shields in play, their bulky and hard-hitting moves allow them to close out matchups. Now, there's a ton of different factors that come into a closer, like closers that can generate massive amounts of energy in a short amount of time, a la Shift Read, closers that are really bulk, like Registeel as you see right here, and others which just absolutely wreck the meta and deal heavy amounts of damage in a short amount of time, which is basically a closer when there's no shields. Now, obviously, a battle can go anywhere when it comes to a closer. These are in the no shield scenarios, but I can tell you from experience, and a lot of top battlers will tell this too, and you probably noticed if you are one of those top battlers listening into these video, your opponent is probably going to have a shield near the end of the game. Usually when they are doing high level gameplay, you will have your opponent will either one have a sack swap, which will be another video, or you have a shield at the end. So even though you're near the end of the game, you're trying to close it out, a lot of times you will have a shield because your opponents know what moves they can take and what moves they can queue up, or if they have energy advantage. There's just so many scenarios. But generally that's what a closer is. A closer is the best Pokemon with no shields in play. As you see right here on this list, it is Registeel. For the next portion, I'm going to give you a little chart just to show you what closers I used. The lead and switch are a little different because compared to the lead and the switch, the closer is kind of the one that like you really depend on to close it out. Or you can actually do a different strategy with it, which I'll mention later in this video. But anyways, let's get started. Here's the chart. So Registeel is what I'm going to use as a closer example here for this chart. As you see, this is kind of the chart for my leads, but I'm going to use this part for an example real quick. So Registeel is great as a lead as well as a closer. Why? Because it covers a lot of what's in the back. Often more than not, you'll see that Azu, Altaria, you'll have Bastiodons, and even its own variant in the back. So you have a strong chance against all of these depending, but like I said in the beginning of the intro, it's very dependent on shield scenarios, energy advantage, etc. When I look for a closer, I look for something that generates energy fast, can take a couple of a bit of damage, like Registeel. Registeel is a great example. Can take quite a bit of damage, or if it's not a thick boy, something that outpaces a lot of the other meta. You need something, if you're picking a closer that doesn't generally have a lot of HP or can't take a lot of punishment, then you need something that can, with energy advantage and proper energy management, like Typhlosion, can outpace its competition and close out the back really quickly, as long as it's ahead. And it takes a lot of player skill, a lot of time for you to really effectively close. I'm going to show you an example video just to make it much more clear. Like you see the chart right here, but I'm going to show you an example just like I did for my save switch, because it's much easier for me to show you what I mean by, like, when I look for a closer, I look for something that can also, if it's not thick, like Typhlosion, can do a lot of damage, and if you manage energy quickly, can close out, has a lot of good matchups and just burn down pretty much whatever's in the back. I'm going to show you that right now. Alright, so we have my Mega Beam team here. The Mega Beam team is designed to basically beam the crap out of everything, but in this one I will show just how Typhlosion is such a great closer, or how you use closers in general. So here we get my Registeel. We lead my Registeel into a Skarmory. This is a great lead for us. This is going to be playing at normal speed just so I can get more information and more clear commentary so I can describe the closer. So as you see, we have the lead matchup. We win the lead matchup pretty hard, so I'm going to either expect my opponent to try to just let this Skarmory go, or these Focus Blasters are going to come up, take your soul. My opponent elects to shield here. This is strange because shielding a Skarmory against a Registeel. I mean, if you don't want to lose your Skarmory, this is great. So my opponent's going to throw his energy here. I don't have to shield anything because Skarmory versus Reggie is such a great matchup. He flash cannons me, so it's like, okay. So it does a huge chunk of damage, but I can still get 3 Focus Blasts off you, even if you flash cannon me again. So all I'm be doing is trying to break shields here, trying to take out the Skarmory with Focus Blast. Focus Blast does heavy damage against Skarmory. And now we're just vibing at this point. His Skarmory is trying to take us down, but we have the thicker boy and we have the better match. So my opponent is going to throw another flash cannon here. Oh, he throws a sky attack this time, bro. The damage though. He's within flash cannon range, so I overfarmed just a little bit over here, and I'm gonna throw one. Oh, I think I overfarmed a lot. Don't do what I did there. Like, oh, I'm trying to lock on farm. Yo. I'm risking the biscuit a lot. Did I just die? I just died. Well, that's interesting. I'm down a shield, but I lost all that energy. Wow, this is a lot worse than I thought. This is one of my old recordings, by the way, but this definitely shows you just how... Oh my gosh! Oh, and I get wall face. Oh, this is so bad. Alright, so even though I lost switch advantage, so it sucks, but like, if you look, this isn't ideal, but like it's still gonna take a little bit for this Bastion to kill me, because my Tropius is still a thick boy. Leaf Blades go off like no tomorrow thanks to Air Slash, but this is still a matchup you don't want to be in. Even though these rock throws still chunk. Look at these rock throws. Oh, my poor long neck dinosaur. Y'all ever watch Slam Before Time? That was a great movie, by the way. I definitely remember when you watched it. Littlefoot. It's like Tropius is like a flying Littlefoot flying fortress thingy. It's adorable, but like yeah. So all we're gonna do, the only players, I'm literally just gonna Leaf Blade you to death, and hopefully we pop a shield. We ran the clock already. I'm trying to grab this shield. My opponent, I already shielded the flamethrower. We want it, and then I send in Typhlosion. Now Typhlosion, here's where Typhlosion shines as a closer. All I'm gonna do here, if I think I know what I'm doing right, is all I'm gonna do is try to Shadow Claw down. My opponent throws the Stone Edge. Of course, I'm gonna shield here. All I'm gonna do is gather all this energy. Watch the Shadow Claw. This is why Typhlosion is such a great closer, because look at how Blastburn does heavy damage, but look at how much Shadow Claw generates so much energy in a short amount of time. My opponent sends out a Tropius. I was trying to think there might be a Regiant back, but this is even better. So these these Blastburns are going to go off, and my opponent shields, but it doesn't matter because I have a second one queued up. And as you see, this is what I mean. Fast energy, high levels of damage, and just spam. Like, Typhlosion is an amazing closer. I will win with 3 Mon still, and because that's a Razor Leaf Tropius, you won't get to a Leaf Blade. This is GG's. But as you see, fast, powerful attacks, quick energy generation, that's what you want for a closer. I hope you all enjoyed that shoutcast. That was an amazing battle. And I really jacked up that Flash Cannon lethal. Don't do that. Don't do that, you guys. Don't do that. Make sure y'all throw your energy. Alright, so here's how I navigate PV Poke. You're going to see how I navigate a closer. Now, most closers, as you know, it's going to be when you don't have shields. But like I said in the intro, you might expect someone to have like energy advantage, or you're going to expect them to have 1 shield or a sack shield, which is much more advanced. But you're going to see, especially if you're at the higher level, just a lot of really like save as much shield as you can, take as much damage as you can. That's basically what you're gonna see as a closer. But generally, as closers, like you want powerful closers. So most scenarios, if you guys are just absolutely like destroying each other, you won't have shields in the end. Anyways, here's pvpoke.com. Here's how I look when I choose a closer. If you haven't donated to this website, please donate. Matt Sama is an amazing human being. Like I said, free resource. Look at his Patreon. Please donate, even just a little bit. He's super awesome. Please do. All right, so here's what we're going to do. So I'll usually run sims on closers with no shields. But when you go to the rankings, here's what happens. So You'll go to the rankings, and now you have the closers tab. So there's the closers tab right here. Now you see all these choices. Now you don't see a lot of them right now. The reason being is because if, for example, Raikou and Electivire, they are readily available because of the Shadow event. And also things like Regice and Regirock, where you don't see a lot of them because they cost so much candy. And unless you were playing really heavily or in the early days, you really don't have one of these ready. Not to say they aren't great closers. As you see on a closer matchup, look what they do. They do very well. For example, how many times do you see these? How many times do you see these picks? A lot. Regice is very strong as a closer. As you see a lot of these meta picks right here. When I look at it, I typically look at what do you see in the back. For example, you do have leads, but you also have players. For example, if you look at the regular like BBML, like Azu, like Azumarill, Altaria, and Registeel, you notice that 2 of those cores are right here in this chart, right? So generally, you'll see like 1 through at least like 20 on this chart. That's actually in GBL. As you see Altarias, you see Bastiodons a lot. You do see a lot of what you call it, like I said, Registeel, Azu. But generally, it's when you have no shields in play. Now, there's a lot of creative things you can do with closers because of it. Because of, it's not just the Pokemon itself, but like I said, the moves. Don't just look at what your Pokemon is as far as typing, as far as closers. If you can predict your opponent's back row closer, you can do very well against them. Predicting closers is very important. So there's 3 things you should really look at. You should really look at the Pokemon, the moves it has, and prediction. What my opponent might have as a closer. There are patterns that some individuals or a lot of players will have in GBL. For example, in GBL, how many times have you seen an Altaria and Bastion in the back? Probably a lot. And Reggie, Azu, like out of all the 4 I've seen, this Bastiodon, Altaria, Azu, and of course Reggie. You see those 4 a lot. You even see Deoxys defense in the back. So as you see, there's a lot of patterns that go around. After I look at which closers that I want, for example, I looked at Typhlosion. Typhlosion ranks at 54. Now, even though it's ranked 54, look at what it covers. It beats Azumarill just because of Solar Beam. It beats Registeel because of Blast Bird. It beats Skarmory because of Blast Bird. You beat Tropius. You see a lot of these 4 a lot. Now, it's really dicey because your closer needs to be able to beat, like, if your team has a weakness, for example, my Mega Beam team, as you saw, has a weakness against Altaria. However, if we run the simulation, and you'll see this time and time again, or this is what I've done time and time again. If you run a Typhlo, if you run the sim, and then you go back to the Zero Shield, flip it around, and do this, go back to battle. Altaria wins in 28 seconds if it gets this. However, what happens if my Typhlosion has some energy? For example, if it farmed down like I did, you saw in the video how I farmed down the Bastion, alright? Let's imagine that I had 100 energy. We had full energy. Watch what happens. Look how close Altaria is to dying. So as long as you do a little bit of damage, for example, let's say Altaria is, Altaria is hurt. Altaria is almost dead, so I can get 2 Blast Burns off and then take out Altaria. If Altaria has a little bit of damage, for example, if you juggled around, you will actually win this matchup. For example, let's see, it starts out at 130. Imagine, because it's 11 points, so just imagine you did like a little bit of damage. Altaria is a little hurt. 2 Blast Burns will KO this thing. Blast Burns do 49 damage. Even though it's resisted, it does a pretty. It takes a chunk, so it takes about a third of its health. But as you see right here, I have to. When you consider closers, think about when you run simulations. How can you beat your weaknesses? Because, like I said, for my Mega Beam team, Altaria walls me really hard. So as you saw right here, poof. You see it doesn't. It's not a good matchup, but as long as I have some damage, I can win this match on Altaria. Or you come out with a match. You come out with a match, for example, if you have that energy and it's starting at full HP, you still come out of that matchup with Altaria like literally almost dead. So as long as you deal a little bit of damage after this, if you still have a Mon left, you win. So like I said, a lot of pressure, a lot of energy. Now, how about Azumarill? Because you see that. Because like I said, you want closers that can deal enormous amount of damage and cover majority of the meta. Now the reason Typhlosion worked so well in Season 1 in the preseason is because everybody drew out there, but everybody has the damn bunny. Everybody has Azumarill. Now, it can still work in this meta. I'm just not willing to like do all this research because with the new meta running around because of content creators and everything, the meta is shifting constantly, and I don't want to spend the time, especially since like right now where I'm making this video, it's almost the end of season. Depending on what season is at, you may or may not want to switch your team. A lot of top players like me, or you see like the top 10 on the leaderboard on GBL, have not changed their teams. So you kind of want to consider, hey, do I want to run this team? If your team is winning consistently, if you're getting even 1-5-0, you are good. I got 5-0s with my Mega Beam team, but like I said, with the meta shifting, it's better if I switched. So then I switched out teams. So I switched into Registeel. Now, this is why Registeel as a closer versus Typhlosion is so much better. So as you see, Typhlosion versus Azumarill, let me finish this real quick. Watch what happens. Typhlosion wins because it just nukes it with Solar Beam. One beam will kill the bunny. Let's assume I have 0 energy. Typhlosion still wins. So even though you have Hydro Pump, Typhlosion has a closer and no shield scenario, because you will never get to a Hydro Pump, you die. Even if you see that thing as Ice Beam, even if you have Ice Beam, Typhlosion doesn't die to Ice Beam. So let's assume I don't have Solar Beam. Like, knowing these matchups are important. So watch. Ice Beam doesn't kill. See how it doesn't kill? I can take an Ice Beam. So if I just go straight Ice Beam and then go Solar Beam, watch what happens. We'll just have the same result from before. See? You can Ice Beam me, I will still live to get to a Solar Beam. This is the type of research you need to do. When you have weak matchups, like how Typhlosion is against Azumarill, I know if, as long as I throw Typhlosion in the back, and I don't let you get a bubble or 1 or 2 fast moves, I will win. This is important. Cover your weaknesses of your closer too, or have something that can kind of cover a wide spectrum of Pokemon in the meta. In a nutshell, make sure you do your homework. Make sure you know your matchups. Make sure you know if your moves can absolutely nuke a certain type of mon. Because Typhlosion, for example, let me use Typhlosion as Registeel. The reason why I'm making this portion so long compared to my other videos is because closers, you need to do a lot of research for closers. Of course, you need to do a lot of research for every other spectrum, but I think closers is like probably the most important one because this is my strongest suit. My style is taking advantage, is a closer style. I love closing. I love breaking your shield early and then closing you and destroying you. So I do a lot of research on closers. And what blows my mind is I actually never did research on Typhlosion as far as a closer goes. So if you look right here, watch what happens. So we're gonna go here, we'll go Blast Burn. So we go Blast Burn with Typhlosion. As you see here, Typhlosion does win, but look, the Registeel does survive. So Registeel will survive with some HP after you do it. So make sure you are aware that even though you have powerful moves, and they are weak against your moves, make sure you look at your simulations and look at what you actually one-shot. One-shotting Pokemon are important. KOing something, knowing you outspeed something, and KO to one-shot is important. For example, I know with Registeel and now Skarmory. For example, get the Skarmory in the back. This happens a lot. I will one-shot you. Skarmory loses. If I have energy advantage, Skarmory, it's even worse. Skarmory will die. Meganium. Typhlosion wins. See all these things in the back that you can see? Meganium wins. Let's see, what's one more? Venusaur. Well, you don't really see Venusaurs anymore, but look at this. There you go. And also, kind of like the popular one around, if you get Stunfisk, then assuming that you have some energy, for example, let me assume that I got like 50 energy. So I came out of this matchup with a lot of energy. Typhlosion will win. Actually, not that. No, not that one. Okay, so give it Blast Burn, and then you give it the Beam. So watch what happens. I mean, it still wins in this scenario if you see, like, if you have energy coming out of this. But watch, you win with just one Beam. One Beam will take out an entire Stunfisk. And you take out all the Mud Boys with it. See what I mean by coverage? You need, like, do your homework. Make sure you know what your closers cover. Because your movesets are just as important as a Pokemon you choose for the closer itself. Alright, here's a summary. As you see, things are a little different from the safe switch and lead because you kind of have to look at closers just a little more differently, but you have to look at some other details. Okay, so the key points we looked at is when you decide on your closers, look at the closer meta. Look at what's like look at what's in the back, what you might think in the back, and like what you like. What you like as a closer meta is important because if you don't like playing a freaking closer, you're not going to actually do well with it. Like with anything in any dimension with team building. 2, predicting what might be in the back. Predict what you might think what might be in the back row because this is important. If you can predict what your opponent might have as their closer, you can think ahead of time and be like, okay, I need a little bit of energy to come out of this matchup, or I need a shield for this matchup. Predict your opponent's back row. 3, movesets. This is very important. Make sure you know the movesets of your Pokemon that you use as a closer and what they cover and how much energy they require, how much turn. That's very important because it doesn't matter if you can close if you don't ever get to enter if you don't ever get to use any of your moves because you don't know which one to use. For example, if you got a Dugong, you should focus blast. Either one's fine, but depending on the scenario, you might want to focus blast instead of flash cannon. That's what I mean by number 3 in the key points. Analyze closer patterns from pvpoke.com, of course, always. Your own Go Battle League experience. So closers are really hard to tell because they're in the back. So you never really know how much what closer patterns there are. Content, yes, number 3, content creators from YouTube and Twitch can show you their closer patterns. So you can kind of know. But at the same time, some person might use an Azu instead of an Altaria. So like I said, based on your own experience and how to deal with closer matchups, make sure you pull from your own experience to analyze closer patterns. And now the secret tip. And I've said this like 5 times in this video. Research how to cover your closer's weaknesses. I showed you Typhlosion versus Stunfisk. It nukes freaking fake pancake. It will nuke the fake pancake with Solar Beam. Solar Beam has coverage against Typhlosion's weaknesses. That's why it's such a powerful closer. Research their weaknesses. Your closer is going to be weak against something. If you have something that covers its weaknesses and you can correctly predict that in the back with your key points, you will have a very powerful closer. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, please like, subscribe, and just comment below. I'll answer them as soon as I can. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And remember, just keep on tapping, and you guys have a wonderful day.